In this video, without spoilers, I will tell you about the plot, game world, progression, combat, and why this game refuses to fade away despite getting so much hate 3 years ago when it was released. First of all, it's important to note that Cyberpunk recently had a new DLC, which naturally boosts short-term interest. Someone might want to play the game again to experience new story, while others get additional reason to try out the game if they haven't tried it yet because of bad reviews or stopped playing for performance issues, which was one of the main reasons the game was criticized so heavily at launch. But there is one thing that is more important than performance, gameplay, or graphics. It's an engaging story. I mean, we literally have these weird things called books with zero graphics, and people will still use those as long as the story in them is good enough. So it's not surprising that despite crashes, bugs, freezes, and lags, most players still enjoyed playing Cyberpunk, and as soon as the initial hype train passed, the average player numbers, instead of continuing dropping, actually even increased a little. There are a few things that make the story of Cyberpunk so good. First of all, most missions can be completed in many ways. Killing everyone on your way, using only non-lethal options, or staying undetected altogether by finding alternative entrances or distracting opponents away from you. But most importantly, most missions have different outcomes depending on your actions, which helps the player to connect with the game. You feel personally responsible about in-game events. It's not an invisible rail that guides the player through the game, but you who decides how to reach your goals and how to deal with situations. For the same reason, characters in Cyberpunk are not just some faceless NPCs that give you quests. Some of them are only alive just because you decided to help them at some point, and they might return the favor later as you will probably meet them multiple times at various stages of the game. Combine that with good voice acting, and add some missions that are purely designed to help the player bond with those characters, and some of the NPCs might become more important than real-life friends, if the gamers had them. Even side quests in Cyberpunk have value. They can reveal some lore, involve characters you met previously, or allow you to learn more about their lives. But most importantly, you never know what you will find. Side activities are so different that it feels satisfying to complete them just out of curiosity. You never know what to expect. Even the most generic tasks, such as going somewhere or stealing something, has at least a little backstory, and it might become useful down the road. There are many ways to progress your character in Cyberpunk, but the most notable are Cyberware implants. These, in many cases, help to increase immersion even more, as many common game design features, such as UI, are linked to technological advancements of Cyberpunk world, like being able to see ammunition count, bullets ricochet angle, and smart weapon targeting system. The less immersive progression includes usual for RPGs levels and attribute points, upgrading certain weapons, customizing them, and adding attachments. Completing missions unlocks additional side quests or vehicles, fighting enemies in certain ways unlocks additional passive effects, and so on. In general, I had a feeling that whatever I do in-game, I progress something without even realizing what, which can feel unnecessarily complicated sometimes. It's good to know that your actions led to some XP bars filling up, but it's not always clear what they do. Cyberpunk is an open-world game where all the action happens on one map and even in one city. Unless you fast travel using the fast travel waypoints located all around the map, there will be almost no annoying loading screens, which helps to keep the gaming experience consistent, which in turn also helps with immersion. Continuous storytelling without annoying loading screen distractions allows the player to bond with a main character even further. as your game flow is not being interrupted that often. When it comes to combat, the gameplay is quite diverse. You can stealthily approach enemies from behind and use your hands, play it like a first-person shooter using only guns, just instead of usual categories they are separated into 3 additional groups. Usual ones are called power weapons, the ones with guided munition are smart weapons, and tech weapons can be charged to penetrate cover. You can also be a melee character and use swords, blunts, sticks, or dildos if that's how you prefer to deal with the enemies. Also, there are quick hacks, which are basically like spells in the game. They can debuff, deal damage, or can be used to give you tactical advantage by distracting enemies or taking control of nearby cameras or turrets. It basically makes you a wizard, just instead of a blue mana bar, you have a ram bar. The game allows you to mix and match these playstyles, so it's only up to you how to deal with enemies, which again increases immersion, as you are free to fight however you feel the most comfortable and engaging. When it comes to rating the playthrough experience, I would separate 3 main aspects of the game: storyline, gameplay, and replayability. The storyline is one of the best things this game has to offer. There is always a tension that keeps the player interested in the story, there are plot twists, there are NPCs that the player cares about, and there are choices you can make during missions that matter. Even side quests are fun since you never know what to expect, which is worth the respect. Storyline, 9 out of 10. Gameplay is diverse if we are talking about combat. Groups of hostile NPCs can be defeated using many different ways, and you can change your build mid-game. But when it comes to non-combat gameplay, such as crafting, buying vehicles, property, or customizing your guns, there are only the most basic features. Gameplay, 6 out of 10. Despite Cyberpunk being an open-world game, the replayability is not very good since a lot of things are tied to the main story. Many side quests are locked behind progressing in the main story, so in every playthrough you will have to follow more or less the same path. At the same time, most missions can be completed in different ways, and can even have different outcomes, especially towards the endgame when your choices lead to completely different missions. So replayability is not very bad either. I would say it's somewhat average, 5 out of 10. In general, I would say that Cyberpunk has a gameplay that is decent but not too different from other games, while a story definitely stands out among others. Thanks for watching, have a nice day, and don't forget that anything can be a weapon.